questions? If you have a mobile phone, if you'd like to put it on silent, please, thank you. Right, a warm welcome back to Darren Deojee with Beyond the Free Man, Sovereignty, what it means, and the people's public trust. The law as it exists is a massive, complex structure requiring an apprenticeship to cover just one section. And why might anybody be interested in the law at all? Surely we have solicitors and barristers for this, that we can pay, like any other specialist, for instance an electrician. As a functioning free man will tell you, the Law Society's members maybe don't always work for you, or even for the greater good. Using as it does English words with expanded or even different meanings, only they are familiar with. So it's down to good old self-responsibility, education and action. Where do we start? Darren will take types of trusts and explain their relevance, plus how and why we might pick up these underutilised and poorly comprehended tools that are available to all. Darren will also cover sovereignty, what it is, and how it might apply to us. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Darren Deojee.
Is this working then? Have I got it on? Yeah. I think so. Can you all hear me all right? Yes. Yes, okay.
A bit louder, please.
Sorry? A bit louder. Please. When somebody at the front was asking to be a bit louder, he is louder.
Once you start talking louder.
Yeah, when I get started. Okay. Yeah, it's not often I get a song and an intro before getting up to speak. It's a bit like, how do you fill that space? Good evening all. Thank you very much for coming this evening. I appreciate your time and your attention. Obviously, some of that stuff sounded quite technical, didn't it? I'm going to try and keep tonight as untechnical as possible. Really so you can get the most out of it more than anything else. So can I just get a show of hands? How many people here have I not seen before? How many people have never seen me before? Excellent. Yes, a number of you have. Hello again. As you'll be aware, I do lots and lots of different talks on lots of subjects. For those of you who are new to me, they all tend to be a bit different from what folk have encountered. I work on things which I consider to be so fundamental to our everyday awareness. We don't give them attention. We don't see how much power and awareness is locked in them. So I do stuff on perception, gender, languages, words and phrases, or the spells we use every day and their effect on us, all sorts of stuff like that. Now, tonight is more about a sort of a side branch I went down a couple of years ago, which was this whole Freeman sovereign movement, which I was attracted to because of the language that's used in it. Can I just get a check here, a show of hands? Is everybody here familiar with the Freeman/sovereign concept at all? Most nods. And can I have a show of hands who's not? Wow, fair number. Okay, that's fine. That's okay, because then you don't have to deprogram your Freeman programming, which is what's happening to a lot of people in the Freeman movement, to be quite honest. I'll cover a little bit about the background of the movement, but I don't think there's any much point in that. Tonight was really about where are things up to now. People have been trying to apply a lot of these strategies, and so I'll explain the basic concept of a Freeman, which is that society and laws can only really operate by consent, because if it's not by consent, then what is it? It's a dictatorship, or it's slavery, or it's tyranny, or it's being subject to another at their whim, which obviously isn't what our conditioned understanding of our society is supposed to be, is it? We're supposed to see it as a democracy where we have a say, we have a vote, we are free participating members. Well, the Freeman movement has been exploring the nuances of that and the reality of it in our very old and intricate law framework in this country, because we're not really aware of how much it affects our everyday decision making, our everyday sense of empowerment and authority, and the value of our opinions and actions that we can have on a daily basis. And this is what I want to get into tonight, which is really what I see as being the meat of the whole movement, which is about discovering empowerment, discovering the value of your contribution, both in the community and generally, because this is what it's about. It's about the absolution of of responsibility to others, but also authority. And part of what the Freeman movement has been about, to me anyway, and what I've seen is people finding authority and empowerment again by using its tools. And that was why I was drawn to it, because I'm into people, you know, my events are more along the self-awareness, self-empowerment route. So when I started to see people being empowered by reusing language in this sort of movement area, it really appealed to me, and because I see all of this sort of stuff as a form of mental healing. And really, you were born in a fundamental state of empowerment, of self-love, of self-awareness, of get up and go, of excitement about life, with a sense of wonder and interest and curiosity. And really that hasn't gone anywhere. You know, it's just that we've switched off parts of it because of how we feel by, you know, the situations in our life, how we react to it, how it makes us feel about ourselves. And this is about authority, empowerment, and it's about how we feel in relation to the so-called decision makers and authorities in our community around us. So that was why I got into it in the first place, and I found pretty quickly that, so the basic premise of the Freeman or sovereign movement is that a society exists by consent. Therefore, if you don't consent to a given society's rules, then they don't apply to you. Now, obviously, in the broad spirit of things, I would agree with that. I would say we do have free will, and if you don't want to participate in a society, then that's up to you. But I think what the challenge that's been going on is obviously people exploring things like not paying their bills, not paying their taxes, not following road regulations, things like that, has obviously brought them in contact with the law quite a lot. And as they've been testing it, they've been finding that obviously free will doesn't quite exist in that sense. And I'm sure many of you can see the problems that might come with people thinking that they can drive around without paying any insurance or taxes or whatnot. But I hope we can all sort of have a sense of solidarity with the desire to test that. Does everybody get a sense as to why somebody might want to do that? Might want to say, well, why do I need this piece of paper to do, you know, to do something which I can naturally do? Because that's part of what the point is about saying, well, why do I need bits of paper to say I can do things that I can obviously already do? You know, but you know, what I've seen certainly, trying to be impartial about it all and watching over the last few years, is that there are complex issues involved in community. There's complex issues involved in trying to get along and to maintain the peace of the camp out there as well, because obviously a lot of people have different ways they want to live their life. And that's really what it boils down to for me. So what I've seen is a whole bunch of people stamping their feet and you know, spouting their position, saying, well, I'm a Freeman and I want to live like this, and somebody else going, well, I'm a no-name, and somebody else going, well, I'm Robert Family Smith, and somebody else going, well, you know, whatever, I want to be the King of Fairies, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. The point is, everybody's standing there spouting their position, but when the state comes along, if that challenges the establishment in any way, the state comes along and they're standing there going, well, this is our position, and you know, we're the state, we've been doing this for 300 years, and if you're honest, you know that, really. And really, they're right. I mean, obviously, I'm paraphrasing events, which can obviously be a bit more charged than that. But I've seen a lot of it, and that is what sums it up as far as I can see. So what I've been doing for the last few years is looking for an effective interface, because I think that's what's important, that's what's needed is, you know, for people to have fair hearing, for them to have their positions heard, even if it does sound bonkers to the current way of understanding. As free-willed human beings, we can surely adopt whatever position we want in terms of our belief as to our role or function here. Surely that's one of the freedoms of our life, I would have thought. Excuse me one second. So I'm not going to go too much into the whole Freeman side of it, because I thought the Freeman movement through initially, and I considered it was a dead-end street. I thought it couldn't go anywhere, because its absolute position is one of turning your back on community and infrastructure, which I know a lot of Freeman would say that's not the case, but you know, realistically, if we said right here, right now, everybody's a free man, nobody's liable for anything, no obligation to the community, no obligation for anything, then what's going to happen to our infrastructure? What's going to happen to services that many of us rely on every day? They're just not going to be there until somebody takes responsibility for it, starts charging for it, blah, blah, blah. And when I turn around and tell most free men that if they had their way and everybody lived like that, then that would actually be Tory heaven. The Tories would be happy because it would be private ownership of everything at private rates. And when you think about that, it kind of stops them for a few minutes. because it is worth thinking about. So I'm quite involved with quite a few of the main groups around the country, so I'll name some of them just so you get a sense of the sort of approaches that are out there as of now. Before I get into more the concept of sovereignty, which I think is much more what the issue is here, underlying all of this empowerment that's going on. So there's a White Rabbit group, which are quite interesting. They're very much into commercial stuff and money. So is everybody here familiar with all the money madness that's going on? Have you all been along to see something like a money presentation about economics and money creation? Has everybody got a sense? Yeah? The nods that aren't actually that confident here. So does everybody know that the money system is based on nothing and actually you can't actually be paid? It's all promises? Yeah? Okay. So they're very much about playing on the commercial side. So if you want to have a look at White Rabbit, you can search for it online. They do seminars all over the country. Simon Spaniard is quite a character, and he can help you out with any commercial matters. So people who do want to play with that sort of area, please do go and explore White Rabbit. There's Roger and Brian at the British Constitution Group. Is everybody here familiar with them? Yeah, so there you go. They're, obviously I think Roger's deviated down his Lawful Bank group recently. There's Michael of Bernicia and his Universal Community Trust. Has everybody come across that? Have a look at it online, the Universal Community Trust. It's pretty interesting. And I'm going to talk more about trust as we go on tonight because this is where the sort of Freeman movement has ended up, I think, anyway, from seeing the learning and the experience that's been going on around the place. What's happened is people have been going into a lot of contract stuff. Are people familiar with that? That everything around us is all about contracts between organisations. Sounds very dry and boring, doesn't it? That's why I want to get past it, because really we've delved beneath it and found that actually there's other older laws beneath contract law that are much more interesting and empowering to us as the people, and that's what I want to get into tonight as we talk about the people's public trust and what it's capable of doing for you. Okay, so Michael Bernicia, Universal Community Trust, and then there's me with the People's Public Trust, which is what I want to talk about tonight, which is doing things a bit differently from the others, because a lot of the others want to, and I'm very much a devil's advocate, I'm not precious about any of these ideas. Personally, all I was trying to do with the People's Public Trust was show how my language work could be applied to the Freeman movement. This is just a sideline curiosity for me. I'd rather be doing my other stuff, so I'm really genuinely not precious about the ideas I'm presenting to you tonight. But my idea with the People's Public Trust was about reusing the language of our interaction with our public servants. And the tests with it have really been quite successful over the last couple of years, to the extent that I think by the time we get to the end of tonight, you'll be quite excited by what's been going on. But because there's so many of you that I haven't seen before, I just want to give you a taste of what I mean by saying the language work I do is different from what others are up to. And so is everybody here familiar with the idea of, some form of corporate enslavement of humanity in some way? There's most people nodding. Okay. Does anybody here think that sounds a bit conspiratorial? Does that sound a bit fishy? Does it sound like something that, there's not really that much evidence for?
The evidence is there.
Yeah. But you had your hand up before. I'm looking for the cameras, the others that didn't. I try to get a sense of their opinion. Because, if, just for a moment, I want you to think about the attire that a man has to wear to go to work. Okay? And I want you to picture a man going into his work at the bank or in the city somewhere and look at what he has to wear. Now, what do we call the part round here, around his neck?
Noose.
It's a collar. Okay. And the bit around his wrists? They're called cuffs. Yeah. Okay, the part round here is called what?
Cuffs.
Tie. Tie. Okay. So collar, cuffs, and a tie. Yeah. Think about that for a moment. Okay. So who wears collar, cuffs, and a tie? Slaves. Idiots. That's a bit harsh. Slaves is one. Yeah. Who else? Anybody else? Prisoners. Servants. Yeah.
Solicitors.
Yeah, all of them, coloured. Now, I think it's really important for us to look at our culture and see that it is a very colour system. You have blue collar, white collar, dog collar. All your police are known by the collar number. All our infantry have their dog tags. And so everybody is collared, even the priests are collared. Even Bishop Blair, of course. Bishop Blair. Yeah, they have to wear collars as well. Now, I'm not making that up. That's not a conspiracy. It's been staring you in your face your whole life. And you've been tricked by context. You've been tricked by fabric to think that something's benign when in actual fact the symbols it actually points to are much, much more meaningful. You know, there's a lot more depth to it. Another example, so that's an example of where you've been tricked by context. We're also tricked in language by emphasis. So there's another example where, if you look at corporate establishments, where there's a sign above the door that you're told means way in when you're walking in. But we're tricked by the emphasis of it. We don't say the word properly. The word is entrance. But that's not what it reads, is it? What does it actually read? It's entrance. That's right, it is entrance. And it's only ever been entrance. So we need to just pause and reflect a moment and think about the number of times you've walked under that sign. And as you've walked into an establishment with all the shiny lights and the bingling music, all pointing on these objects promising that you'll be attractive, sexually alluring, desirable, satisfied, that this food will meet your needs or whatever, when in actual fact you find it generally doesn't. How many times have you gone and bought something that looked really tasty and took it home and you're like, don't buy things in boxes. Not if you want actual food. And that's the thing, because you get the nice little picture on the front, you look on the back and there's no food in it. It's bits of food. Food derivatives, diglycerides, monoesters, blah blah blah, things that, you know, aren't cheese and aren't cake when I go shopping for cheesecake, that's for sure. Anyway. I just want you to consider that entrance thing. Look at what happens when you're in these places, wandering around. You've maybe gone in for just a couple of items and you come out with half a trolley. And it's because you've got things operating on all your senses, all your perception is overloaded. And make you part with your power and your attention. And that's really what this all boils down to. It boils down to your most precious asset, according to some systems, and that is your attention. Because your attention is taken all times by something. Sometimes we've got lots of attention, sometimes we've not got very much, but all the time it's taken by something. And all companies, and all governments, and all people who want to be famous and things like that are all vying for your attention. They all want it. Every one of you. You're all fair game. And that's why you have billboards and adverts and commercials and all the rest of it bombarding you on all sides. All the time. Trying to get your attention so that you might buy into that belief that their product will give you what you want and you'll give them some of your power, some of your attention, some of your money. And so this is really, you know, there's a bit of a war for your thoughts going on. If you imagine that the whole world is a park, the whole world is a beautiful, incredible, amazing park filled with beautiful, amazing things. And what's happened is, some other people have gone and they've stuck lots and lots and lots of signs and buildings and things like that up to, you know, maybe make the park drop into the background for a while and make all these dazzling lights step into the foreground for a bit. All for that attention of yours to make you wander in or whatever, or buy into those ideas. And really in these times of, you know, incredible energy and co-creative power and, you know, manifestation, I don't know about you guys, but 2011 has been a year of incredible manifestation. I've seen things happen like never before, amazing convergences, divergences, all sorts of stuff going on. And it's made me realise that there is absolutely nothing more important than the thoughts going on in your head in relation to, regardless of what you think about next year, regardless of what you think about 2012 or anything else for that matter. The most important thing is whose vision is in your head. Whose world are you repeating and describing? Because that is your sovereignty.